Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Earthlings. Thank you for joining me again. My review of Can I Tell You a Secret on Netflix. We've just finished watching the two 40-minute episodes, and towards the end a little bit of a chat about where I think Meghan and Harry are standing in public persona. Let's make that clear. I've never met Meghan and Harry. I don't know them as people. They could be the loveliest people for all we know, and they've just got such horrible PR that they've come across as the baddies, the villains of the piece. But their public relations image it's in the toilet, as they say. But firstly, this is a review of Can I Tell You a Secret? Because I think this is something really, really important for everybody to understand. Thank you all very much for your comments on the video yesterday. Lots of thought-provoking stuff. Some of you have had children who've been stalked. I had a couple of people who commented who I deeply suspect may have been participants in the programme who are not familiar with my channel, because they said things like, how would you feel if you were being stalked and trolled, Fiona? How would you feel if your daughter was? And I thought, okay, you don't watch my channel, do you? You're not aware of what's been going on. Anyway, that's their problem. Right. I also saw at least one comment when people say come off social media or come offline. That is, and they say things like simples. No, that is not simple. We do our banking, a lot of us, online. I am against the idea of a cashless society. I think it's a very dangerous thing. But I'm just one fish swimming with the tide or against the tide. There's nothing we can do. The online life is very much a reality of a lot of people's lives. A lot of people say, I don't want to give my data to social media platforms or websites because I don't trust them with my data. Valid point. However, if you are watching this video, you already have, just by being on the internet. Put your phone in the fridge. Turn it off for just a day. See, can you cope? What if you've received an email from one of your utility companies that says if you don't pay this bill, payment didn't go through, you're going to be cut off. You're going to be cut off. Or would you prefer to go and queue up at the utility company's office for several hours? I can tell you here, the Endesa office in La Linea, you have to be there at 7:30 in the morning and you will not be seen until at least 4 o'clock. Such is the queue of people arguing over every penny. Ordering things on Amazon. Or would you prefer to drive into town? Queue in traffic, find an expensive parking space, trudge in the rain, go round the shops, finally find the thing you want, or perhaps not, and then do the reverse journey, come home wet, cold, pissed off, tired, or would you rather go on Amazon? Beep, beep, beep. The internet already has your data, so saying things like, I don't want to give my data, it's a non-argument. It seems to me that, as I've said before, social media is an enormous societal learning curve. There are laws in real life. For example, in England and Wales, there is common law. You can't just go around and murder anybody you like. You can't just go around and steal what you like. That's contrary to common law. So why do the police treat it differently when it's online? Which it seems to me they do, especially when it comes to stalking and harassment. And we're not talking about trolling. Let's put trolling to one side. Trolling is like when people have a laugh at someone else's expense. Why not? It's cruel, it's mean. I've laughed at things I've seen. I may not have liked them, but I've seen things and I've laughed. And I've said to Graham, God forgive me, I shouldn't have laughed at that. But it just happens to be funny. I've laughed at things that I've seen of myself. But stalking and harassment. Now, what it appears to me that victims in the Matthew Hardy case, social media was really embryonic then. It seems to me they had things on Facebook and they themselves had volunteered information into the public domain, which then anybody, literally anybody, can see. I was a little confused as to how Matthew was able to WhatsApp or direct text or had the mobile phone numbers of the victims. There was an awful lot that didn't add up. If I start with the first episode, the people who made it, the Thoreau company, they didn't do those victims any justice at all. Most of them were caked in makeup with so many false eyelashes on, I'm surprised they could open their eyelids. I'm not diminishing them as victims, but they had their chance to go on Netflix and portray themselves to the world. And most of them came across as Meghan Markle types and were reading from cue cards, and I'm not exaggerating. You can go and watch the programme, disagree with me, but I don't think you will, where one of them was like, I was so scared, I didn't know what to do. I mean, what the hell is Netflix thinking, putting content out there like that? If you're going to be genuine, be genuine. If you've been through a bad experience, you're going to participate in that kind of show. It's not a fashion show. It's not a modelling show. It's not an opportunity to have a screenshot. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille, etc., etc. It's not that. You're talking as a person. Now, there was one of the victims in particular, and I can't remember her name, a Brummie lass from the Midlands, and she was being honest. I felt she was sincere, I felt she was truthful, and I felt of all of the participants in it, she was the one I would have liked them to talk to at far greater length. Again, not to diminish what the others had gone through. I don't doubt there were moments when they were scared and they didn't know who it was, but then for the programme makers, someone at the programme makers should have said to them, wash all that makeup off for a start. Don't do that. Change from the miniskirt, less of flashing the legs, take the false nails off. This is not the moment. Yes, if you want to be on Instagram, you know, I'm an Instagram living bitch, do all those things. Not on a show like this of something of this gravity. I think, and that was a mistake of the programme makers, because that's the naivety of these girls. The police officer in charge, Kevin Anderson, I really felt he was, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille. I'm an Instagram loving bitch. That is how he came across to me. Could just be my personal opinion. What I was surprised about, and some of you have said, oh, I bet Matthew's mum is a mummy's boy. Not at all. Matthew's mother wanted him to go to prison. She went to court fully expecting him to go to prison. She was at her wit's end because Matthew had had difficulties at school. There were kids that bullied him. When social media came along, I suppose he found it a way of retaliating and paying them back for what they'd done to him at school. It's not the right thing. He did have a restraining order. Her windows were frequently smashed, not only on her house, her car tyres let down. She's got CCTV bristling all over her house. She has it on all the time. They did kidnap him. A couple of middle-aged men, thugs, did. They did video him. They did put him on Facebook. There was no mention of that in the programme, but they didn't really need to because they did cover the window smashing bit. And as I was watching it, and having spoken to Matthew's mother for about a year now, a lot of you said, oh, she's my mate. Yes, we're friends now, but it's not like a school friend. She approached me because I have this YouTube channel and she'd heard me talk about other things in what she described as a fair and balanced way. And that's why she wanted to talk to me in private. And she was fearful. She knew this programme was coming up. These things take time. So watching the programme, I saw that Matthew pleaded guilty to 5 counts, ultimately, of what I personally consider nowhere near as serious as the death threats to put bullets in mine and Graham's skulls. Of course, some of you out there, I did see in the comments, think that the bullets in the skulls is nowhere near as serious as what Matthew did. I suppose that's a point of view. And it did come across to me and appear to me. For example, they showed one of, allegedly, Matthew's troll accounts say something like, I am Matthew Hardy. Well, I've never come across a troll that tells their victim their actual name. I'm sorry, something's not adding up here. I begin to think this Kevin Anderson is going to regret opening this can of worms on Netflix. He just stopped shy of punching the air as if his favourite football team had scored a goal when Matthew was sentenced to 9 years. The victim from Birmingham, the Midlands, was shocked. She was like, how can you go from the police telling you there's nothing they can do to 9 years? She did have sympathy for Matthew. It is no excuse having autism, and Matthew's mother explains that as well. There is just so much in this subject, and the way these girls, some of the girls, presented themselves, to me, I felt they'd watched the Oprah interview and gone, oh, if Meghan Markle can do that, I can do that too. You know, and it's setting an example for a generation rather than be raw, be truthful, be yourself. Take the filter off. You want to go on TV and explain what happened for the benefit of future victims and past victims or people currently going through this. Don't go on it with like thick, like caterpillars on your top lids, lipstick sticking out a mile, caked in makeup and reading an auto cue. I felt I was very scared at times. I'm not exaggerating, that's how it came across to me. For the life of me, why Netflix would pay for a production that lame is beyond me. They also used, I mean, it's almost as if the first 40 minutes were made by someone who's never been on the internet or has no idea such a thing as the internet exists. They used the angry face emoji, you know, the red head with the angry eyebrows. They used that. And then they made the mouth move like a cartoon, like something out of The Amazing Adventures of Gumball or Adventure Time or SpongeBob SquarePants with this very unrealistic, deep computerised voice coming out of it. And I thought, Graham and I just cringed and thought, what the hell? Are they trying to explain to the audience what an angry emoji looks like? Like everybody doesn't know what an angry emoji looks like. So it was horribly unsophisticated. They demonstrated at one point that the reason the Crown Prosecution Service went for it in the end, well, they said it was because of this deluge file that one of the victims had produced. I seriously doubt it. It was because on one troll account, they claim that Matthew went live on it and revealed his face by accident. Again, I'm not sure I'm buying that, but these people who made the programme, the police officers, the barristers, the solicitors and the judges and probably journalists at The Guardian are maybe not very internet savvy. It is not inconceivable that someone could get a little video of Matthew revealing his face and upload it onto a troll account that they have created in order to cause shit for him. I despair. As you all know, I despair of the royal website. It would take about 16 clicks to fix that, for God's sake. I despair of people in this day and age, the internet. How long has the internet been around now? 31 years, that people still don't understand how it works. If I see it, what his crimes was retaliation for what he perceived as slights. I mean, I'm really not into the deep depths of it all. Because I haven't read the depositions. They did emphasise, they did show some of Matthew's police interviews where he was basically saying, yes, I have trolled people, but not in this instance. And the police said it's come from your IP address. And Matthew explains, well, I've got Wi-Fi. I live in a block of flats. Anybody could be using that. I've explained that in previous videos. You know, if you have a friend who comes around and says, what's the password for your Wi-Fi? You can give it to them. And then in the future, you could fall out with them. They can park up outside your house. They can use your own Wi-Fi to make it look like it's you. I mean, for God's sake, do the police have any idea how the internet works? Cringe. So then the kid gets 9 years from a crusty old judge who I bet doesn't know his head from his arse. He probably doesn't know how to log into his own email. And the 9-year sentence, I believe, was because the press were in the court, and judges do. They pander for their little 15 minutes to be in the newspapers. So they like to dole out larger sentences when the press are in the audience. Not an admirable quality, is it, really? When what we really want is justice. There are very simple things that can be put into place, generally speaking, and not by social media companies. I mean, to a certain extent, social media companies are responsible, but they're not the lay of the law. They are not the law. The law in England and Wales, for example, is Parliament, the Houses of Parliament. They create law, and the police are the institution which enforces law. It is not good enough for police officers to say to victims, come off social media, delete your social media, or even to block people. Why? Why is it that the police do not take it seriously? What is going on online? I'll tell you why, because they don't know, they don't understand, and they are full of ignorance. Thankfully, Sussex Police, as we have discovered, is somewhat more sophisticated. And this programme was made like a year ago when really a lot of them didn't know their head from their arse. I might come back to that. Okay, Harry and Meghan, it's over. It's over with those two. In fact, I'm going to do a separate video for that one. I'll do a separate one. I'm sorry if you've watched all the way to the end and then I go and say that. But I feel it deserves a separate one because for me, it's over. It's over. They're finished. It's gone. Goodbye. And I will explain in part 2. Thank you very much for listening. I really feel that the police need to learn that there is a thing out there called Twitter. It does exist because I am aware of police officers saying, where are you getting all this information from? There's a thing called Twitter.com. For God's sake, police officers across the lands everywhere. If you don't understand the internet, get a bunch of kids in. Right, let them do the job for you. It is unfortunate that prison sentences are doled out. It is unfortunate that there are sickos out there. And I'm not saying Matthew, not casting aspersions to them, but there are sickos. There are people. Can you imagine if they tomorrow said there is no more common law? You can murder who you like. Now, me personally, I can't think of a single person I'd do that to. Graham and I just wouldn't do that. But how many people would? It would appear that the 10 Commandments was not sufficient for some people, that then laws had to be created, English and Welsh law founded by William the Conqueror in 1066. It would appear that that was not sufficient, that he had common law, common sense and commonly put out by his circuit judges, that then further legislation had to be created. But that wasn't sufficient for some numbnuts. And then further legislation has to be created. Oh my God, why can't some people just behave themselves? As always, thank you very much for listening, and I will see you for a philosophical chat about Meghan and Harry in the next video today.